Fashion is always about creativity. Today, AI is revolutionizing every business.
Anything that starts new is a hype, and it better be. And I'll tell you, I really want to ask the audience, when do you think we start designing? Technology can work best if the human has the in-depth knowledge. Now, what's happening with, say, AI now?
How did you study all that? Because it's a niche problem that you're trying to address.
The
right?
fashion, it's 1.7 trillion and more. Almost 60 to 70% companies have started adopting AI. Will be in another 5 years. For the audience, when you want to start something, always look at markets or stuff that's going to be there for another 20 to 30 years. For me, it's roti kapda makan.
What is your tech stack? What are the base models that Ambram or your product is built upon? And how do you differentiate yourself considering the fact that AI evolves so quickly?
Ambram has two products, a designer, fashion designer, and a software engineer. So I merged these two people.
What was your data set?
The best way to answer is, if you put a picture, what will come out? You can actually do the entire category.
There are a lot of big fashion houses, right? Can't they do this design work in-house?
And I'm telling you, that's the future.
Hello and welcome to ETAI podcast. I'm your host Radhika, and together we will explore how AI is reshaping business and work. Today we have with us Ms. Kalyani Kulche, an alumni of NIFT and founder of Ambram.ai, a platform that is blending fashion and technology to address the problem in the fashion design supply chain by leveraging AI. Hi Kalyani, a very warm welcome to ETAI podcast. Before we begin, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to start Ambram.ai?
Thank you, Radhika, for having me. Well, I come with 2 decades of experience in fashion and especially in design space. I'm very good at, looking at concept creation, then moving on to building a collection and then making it production friendly by doing the product development. And I've done that for many, many years for brands across USA, Europe, and LATAM. Now, in this process, while managing the design studio and working with so many designers parallelly, both in India with my team and the designers of the brands, I realized we are taking too long. And there's so much wastage that nobody gets to see. It's only the design team know how much fabric that is left in the studios or not been used, or the samples that we generated that never saw the day of light. It never even entered the selection process for buyers. So after seeing all that, and I also continuously educated myself in management and design and or technology as a curious person who's always learning. I wanted to now, the brick and mortar design studio that I was running to cloud by using technology. So that's the short journey that I have. So graduated in NIFT from in 97 to now, where I'm actually in the same domain of fashion, but working and created in the technology space for fashion industry. So that's the long and short of Kalyani. And happy to be here and to talk about what AI is doing in this scenario, in this industry.
Thank you, Kalyani, for sharing your journey with us. Fashion is always about creativity, but today AI is revolutionizing every business, and not just revolutionizing, but becoming the backbone of every business. So how do you see AI transforming the entire fashion design supply chain, and which areas do you see maximum innovation happening in? And is it really translating into revenue increase and cost savings, or is it just a hype at this moment?
So I'll tell you, anything that starts new is a hype, and it better be, because that hype actually creates the practical input, and people are experimenting, doing things that are, and they're discovering, I would say. They're doing stuff that is not working, they're doing stuff that are working, right? So we are with Gen AI and AI, we are in that phase of discovery, trying to figure out what's going to work for the entire design process. So to answer you specifically, let's break it down. In supply chain, it is affecting everywhere. It is a part of every process. So let's break down the process again. So we start with trend forecasting. You do, and I'll tell you, I really want to ask the audience, when do you think we start designing? Say the garment I'm wearing, the garment you're wearing right now, when do you think we start designing? So to answer, in a short way, we take 1 year.
Mhm.
That's too long for anybody to, like right now, all designers are planning summer 27 or maybe even fall, at this point of time. So that's too long. Now, AI has converted that particular long process into days and even months, you know. So the second thing is once you do, and there are tools, there are trend forecasting tools. Earlier, we started when I was studying, we used to go and, go to the libraries and look at books on prompt steel. Now we're just checking online. We're using Huritech, we're using, and Tagbok. And in between, I would say Promosteel and Huritech, there was WGSN. It's still prominent. It's the prominent player for trend forecasting, and now Fashion Snoops have worked in. But the point is, there are tools that are mixing human and AI, but now the technology has taken over and the human intervention has become a little less. But again, let me tell you, technology can work best if the human has the in-depth knowledge of how to use it. So that progression is going on at the moment, you know. So I would say if once you do with the trend forecasting, we have Gen AI tools like Tali, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion to create those ideas into, you know, say within a minute we'll get to see the garment. It all depends on what prompt you write. So prompt engineering is becoming something that designers are learning, or that will become super proficient. And the software companies are also making it easy for designers to just do stuff that with the click of a button they will get the prompt, even if they write few words. Okay, so it's the innovation is the learning and the innovation is happening at the same time to create the best results. Now, once you create those designs, what is happening is you need to make technical plans, right? Now, again, there are tools that are there. There's, I think it's Tech Hacker, but now there are other tools who, and especially in certain Google APIs, you can actually convert if you put a picture, it will give you a black and white image of that. So it is creating the technical, if not the measurements and all, it will give you a technical design. And you can still work, the human is still working on it. So so I would say there's a disruption there as well at the time of technical designs. Now, once you do that, right, you need to work on fabrics, you need to work on color, and there's some people who are giving you customer updates, right? What is the predictive customer updates by using Stylumia, which is a homegrown, company. They do predictive analysis on what's moving, which colors are trending. Internationally, there are edited. There are other software companies who are doing the same thing using AI. They're using machine learning a lot to give these predictions for the companies, and it's very important for the buyers to know what to buy because it's so difficult. It used to be so difficult earlier to know what's moving, and that's one of the reasons why the brands would sit with so much inventory. Why? The designers are designing 1 year ahead. The buyers are getting to know what is going to run or what the customer wants, and then there's a huge gap. Either they're running out of styles which customers are liking and they don't have enough to feed in, or they're just sitting with inventory because the designs that were created are not selling, and they're either selling at discounted or they just kept, right? So to create to solve this, we're using AI again by companies. So say once that is done, there's a huge supply chain AI or technology that is moving on. Because once you create this tech pack, you have to do 3D modeling. Earlier we used to do CAD. Now we're using, Clo 3D got really, really famous, and that's still one of the tools that a lot of people use. But you have Tukatek, you have Browseware, you have, Style 3D has come up really well now, and more. And I'm telling you, more would come. So once your 3D is done, you're actually now doing in 3D. What happens is that it's not just a flat sketch. You will put that garment, the flat sketch, on a human with the real fabric feel and make that human walk. So you can see before even making anything, do I really want this? And you can redo the style, keeping price in mind. So you would know that if this is the price, do I want this embroidery here or here? You can place it in check without even making a sample. So what we're trying to do with all of these technology is trying to figure out, get close to what the customer want, get close to what the trends are, and create the right collection. And at all the stages, we're using AI and technology. So there's another space that we would be touching, which is again doing extremely well, is the consumer preference and how technology is getting used. So to understand personalization, if you just upload something, they'll just tell you, you can go to these particular websites and they'll tell you where you can go and buy as per your preferences. So that's another. And then sentiment analysis, recommendations that have been used traditionally has taken a completely different shape now.
So, wow, I never knew that a simple garment that we go and buy at a whim has so much gone behind in creation of that garment. But thank you, Kalyani, for helping us understand what goes into making a garment. But Kalyani, you are a fashion student and fashion. You have built a career in fashion, and AI is a recent trend, right? But you have been in this industry for more than 20 years. Now, what gaps did you see in the entire supply chain which you wanted to address? And now you are taking a crack at it that, through technology, even being a non-techie, I will be able to address it.
Great. I'll tell you before, see, fashion is a 10,000-year-old fashion industry that always existed. We never had technology 2,000 years back and we were still wearing clothes. So one thing to understand is that what is technology doing to this industry? We can definitely live without it. Now, and I'll tell you, without it means just doing the basic, get the fabric, get it stitched, take it somewhere, sell, and learn the way we used to do it in 50s and 60s. Then came your Adobe CAD tools to help us create, and almost every designer knows how to use that now, right? And that's one of the go-to tools without AI that we do. And say how we track our production. It's a complex, scenario. It's not just the garment that you're wearing has fabric, so we need to talk to well. Then it's getting printed somewhere else. We need to talk to them. The trims are coming from somewhere else. The packaging is coming from somewhere else. So you can imagine the kind of massive collaboration people had to do back to get you to buy and you to wear. So all of this used to happen and still happens in itself. There are WIP charts, work in progress chart, and people come and meet and talk, and they have these weekly meetings, and they'll address the issues. They'll go back, the human typing and emailing, all of that happens. So that's still very, very, very prevalent. Now, what's happening with, say, AI now, right now? We've been able to create garments within a minute. So as a designer, I don't have to create my first sample. I can immediately take that and talk to my team is that, hey, you know what? I believe in this theme. That is what is trending. They got the trends from a tool that they must have bought. And there are companies who are doing that, right, to help them. They're getting the information about trend. They're creating the tool in AI and showing to the buyers and the team, hey, this is what we want to proceed with. Now, I worked with a company which actually took it further. They have actually sent those styles to almost, I would say 100, 150 internal customers, taken the feedback on how they like it, what price they would want to buy without, I'm telling you, we have not even made the garment yet, right? And then they got the initial feedback on how they feel, and then they created the sample. So from traditional, where we were there already, we were using the traditional tool. It would take a month, 2 months, and it would take a year of thinking. It is just shifted to months now, 1 month, and you have the entire collection. Not just core styles, but fashion. You're getting fashion in 30 days.
So AI has expedited the whole process of design, right?
It has cut down waste. It has made the entire process a lot more collaborative. And the companies are a lot more stronger in terms of when they're proposing their style. It's not, there's less ambiguity, and they're pretty sure of with the predictive tools as well how much inventory that I need to have or how many stars that I need to make. So I think it's becoming cleaner and
leaner.
neater and leaner. And I think and I'll tell you, let me tell you, it's one of the most pollutant industry of all the industries. So I think it's time that we use technology and clean it up. And that's what is going on now.
Correct. But tell me something. You are a fashion graduate and again had a career in fashion, but using AI, you are able to design these products faster. But don't you think it can happen the other way around also? People who understand a little bit of technology and much lesser fashion could also, be able to design and get into this space. How much of a fashion understanding is required to be in your business? And don't you think that this technology is sort of a threat to the fashion stylists and all?
I got it. You know what? I'll tell you. I always, whenever I hear this, I always say that when we shifted from a typewriter to a computer, they must have felt the same thing, I guess. They must have felt the same because as a designer, I've been trained as a designer since 1997, right? So and even now, traditionally, we've been taught to draw. We we taught to go out, look at the inspiration, look into the color, try to figure out what are your prominent colors from the inspiration, come up with styles and ideas, draw, doodle, and then figure things out. It's a long process after that, and that's what we call it concept building. And from that concept building, we go into design development, really designing collection for the masses or for couture. It depends. Now, that can happen with the prompt. Okay. And now, guys, or I would say anybody who knows how to write can create a collection. But the point is, what would you write? Right? So that's exactly where a person who is educated, who understands,
can use AI to
can give a better prompt and then get a better output. Now, software can say that, the developers, I can make that simple for you. Like even in my tool, I made it very simple because I understand the problem of a designer in terms of we've never been taught to write. That, hey, we've been taught to think
and draw and
design. It's so physical, right? But I've never been told to type. So I get the problem. So we made that simpler, by the way. We have. But at the same time, I've noted, and the tool has been, and you know what? The best way to experiment, give the same tool to a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old to create
to an expert
and give it to someone who's doing kids well. Oh, I've done that, and I've seen the difference, the maturity, the way things have. It's naive, it's beautiful when it's 6-year-old, and we get amazed by their mind. One kid told me that, and I just gave the tool. She's a daughter of a very dear friend of mine, and I was visiting her. And I was giving her a demo, like, hey, you know what? This is what I've done, and this is what you can do in my tool, and you can come up with great designs. And the daughter said, Auntie, can I use it? And she created something beautiful for herself. And she said, I want the inspiration to be frozen. And that took me back a little. I said, for a kids' wear collection, I would never think of that thing. And suddenly, with that thing, and she asked for help because she said, I don't know how to write, but can you get this done for me? It's like, Auntie, I want this. So what I'm trying to say is the output that I got was so raw, but so interesting that can be taken ahead by a mature designer versus somebody who is a mature designer, knew exactly what happens, how it happens, created some beautiful stuff again. So I would say both are great. But one, the person who might not know the industry does not know the process that I explained you, that it has to be production friendly, it has to be produced, right? If you're creating a print, you should know how many colors. We cannot do 20 colors. It has to be between 5 to 7, max if it goes to 15. We know that the price will go high, and then we need to again reduce it. So you understand? So that's the only difference with AI, is that a person who understands the process and the industry will use it for the benefit of a production of, I would say, for an industry, versus someone who is interested in AI and is creative. We all are very creative, and wants to create a line for themselves. They would have to learn. I mean, they will create the collection A, but I think they will learn it while executing that collection. That A, where did I miss? What did I miss?
Absolutely.
So be prepared for both, and but all is great. Be excited about AI.
No, I got it. So I think AI can be used to supplement your creativity, but you need to understand the underlying process in order to make a business out of it, right?
Absolutely.
Then coming back at it, now, while I understand you have created a product to improve and build efficiency into the design process, and it's helping reduce wastage, reduce pollution and all. But what is the size of this business opportunity for a platform like yours? And when you went and thought of starting something like this, how was the market potential? How did you study all that? Because it's a niche problem that you're trying to address, right?
So I tell you, when you start a business, or is your question is relevant, you need to really know how massive the market is. And for fashion, it is, if I talk about it, the entire industry is 1.7 trillion and more. And within that, and that's what you call TAM, and within that, you have a smaller section of, say, technology, right? And that itself is 275 million and more than that. But inside of it, right now, the Gen AI or the AI is somewhere around 4 billion, by the way. And it has a massive growth, which will reach to almost 90 billion in 10 years.
Which is what the fashion part that you are trying to address.
The fashion, it's 1.7 trillion and more. Then we are addressing the technology part. Now in technology, you have Mernstack. So
this Gen AI part that is relevant to only fashion design. That is 4 billion. Okay.
4 billion.
Okay.
And then it will grow up to almost 90 billion by within 10 years. Now, the interesting part is almost 60 to 70% companies have started adopting AI now. And imagine how it will be in another 5 years. So I see a massive growth, both for the software companies who are developing and who will continue to develop because they will learn from the customer, and customers who are immediately implementing it. And the two main areas that I see now, the implementation is actually design, and the second is consumer. So in design, as I said, it's trend forecasting and all the design and a lot of other things that I explained to you earlier. But in the consumer, they really want to understand what's going, the personalization. That's the word. How can I get how can I be, how can, as a brand, be that for them? That they're coming back again and again to our website or to our product to buy, because they think that they relate to that brand more closely. So these are, but however, the supply chain AI is growing. And the supply chain AI, when I say this, it's in between design and consumer, right? The consumer wants certain things. They're going to design and they're telling us really fast what they want so that we can create. But in between, there are so many things you have to then source your textile, weave that textile. That textile moves from one place to fabric, moves from one place to another, where it'll CMT, we call it cut, make, trim. It going to those factories and then it'll get stitched and then it'll be shipped. Right? So there's a lot of work going on. And production itself is a huge task where you have lines and lines of machines that are working in their eye to devices. So that's a completely different conversation. And that is catching up. There are many companies who are there. And there are a lot of ERPs that are being placed. And good news is there's some very interesting ERPs coming out of India as well. So
specific to fashion?
Specific. Okay. Everything specific to fashion. So one thing that I wanted to again say is massive. It'll grow. And one thing always, and there's one thing that is interesting thought that I always tell designers, and even for the audience, when you want to start something, always look at markets or stuff that is going to be there for another 20 to 30 years.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's roti kapda makan. It has been there. It will always be there and comprise a part of it. And I knew this is the industry. Well, you know what? When I became a student of fashion, I never thought all that. But when I wanted to enter as an entrepreneur, I immediately went and saw what's the market?
What is the market?
Is this an essential that will be there forever? And I knew it. If I play my cards right, if I'm delivering the right stuff and I'm building something that customer wants, the business will sustain.
Thank you, Kalyani. That was very enlightening. And you talked about ERP. So I'll ask you, what is your tech stack? What are the base models that Ambram or your product is built upon? And how do you differentiate yourself considering the fact that AI evolves so quickly? Like whatever is an innovation today, in 6 months, it'll be a hygiene. So, and you are not a techie, right? So what is your tech stack? And tell us a little bit about.
So let me talk about Ambram before I really explain the tech stack. Ambram has two products. One, it's a Gen AI tool where you can create your collection. And then after creating collections, you can actually collaborate, take feedbacks from your buyers. The buyers can be sitting anywhere. You're a manufacturer. The buyer can be in US, Latam, wherever. You should be able to take faster feedbacks. What is happening now? They're still doing that, right? 100 years down the line, they're still taking feedbacks. But how? WhatsApp. They're using
Emails.
emails. Yeah, everything is scattered across. So in Ambram, you can have all your data in one place. You can just shift your teams that, hey, what is happening with my US team? What did I do? Just shift and then you'll have all
So as you mentioned, it's an ERP of fashion.
It can be, yes.
Design
You know what?
supply
It's more like a collaborative tool because ERP is very, very extensive.
Very
They're working on merchandising, colors, fabrics, costing. A lot of things happen there.
But this is more
You have
for
a
design.
niche to design. So you create and you collaborate. Now, the tech stack that we're using is MERN. And the second thing for Genia, we are using definitely computer vision. We're also using the APIs that are available, that are there. And Google has done some brilliant releases, and you must, anyone who's interested in knowing what's happening with APIs, please check up the way the companies are coming up with new APIs and the new products. I'm very excited about Google and what they're doing. So that's what we're doing at Ambram. And yes, okay, as a non-techie, let me tell you, pandemic hit. In my company where I was working, 100 people were just
laid off.
And what struck me was these are the people who are given the 20-25 years to the company. And that's exactly when I thought that what can I do? I immediately used the pandemic time to learn Python. And very tough, extremely tough, for me. Something like Python where even one comma or something get missed and it doesn't move further. And you have to figure out where did I make the mistake. Thanks to my mentors, thanks to my teammates, the batchmates who were there who helped me. Late at night, I would just say that, you know what, I'm stuck here and there would be an answer what to do. And one of the best thing that happened was I could figure out my solution architect from that particular cohort. So what happens with these kind of courses is, you build and this is very important for people who are non-techie who wants to build your community. And in this course, I could build a community who trusted my vision that, hey, Kalyani is going to do something in fashion. And when I actually did, they just jumped in to help. Second, look for a very good CTO, and so that they can address the problems hands-on and help you. And you keep your creative vision and what problem you want to solve and keep the domain expertise while the other is helping you execute that same. Why I did Python is solely because of one thing, that I just didn't want to be surprised by what's going on or be totally unaware. I just wanted to be, I just wanted to know the language, the conversation.
The language of techies.
Yes. And the conversations that are happening and what really matters. And trust me, after that 1 year of the course, I realized annotated data and clean data is the most important thing for any AI model to move
Correct.
correctly. And I knew that after leaving this or after finishing this course, I parallelly started building my own data. And how to annotate, I learned how to annotate.
How did you build that data? Because as you rightly said, it is the foundation.
You know what the best thing is? You
And
need to hire.
what does that data contain?
See, I'll tell you, you need to hire people. Again, there was a combination of a designer, fashion designer, and a software engineer. So I merged these two people. And the best part was I took them as interns. They were in college. They were ready to explore. And with fashion, I went to Vogue, figured out what's going on in there, and I made sure that all the details are written. And what happens with AI, you need to know exactly what you're building. Are you building to recognize fabrics? Are you building this to recognize color? Are you building to recognize silhouettes? Many attributes.
So what was your data set? What did you?
So my data set had fabrics and all the category enlisted in there, whether it's a top or a sleeve or a color. So what happens? I'll tell you. The best way to answer is if you put a picture, what will come out?
Okay, so color, fabric, style.
Yes, you can actually do the entire category, and whether it's a kid or women's, men's, all of that. So if you want anything to be seen as an output, you need to actually train the AI as an input, and not just one or two. You need to really put in quite a bit.
So tell me something, Kalyani. We've taken a lot of effort to shape your product, including learning of Python. Now, there are a lot of big fashion houses, right? Can't they do this design work in-house rather than having a platform like yours to supplement their designing? See, in this case, how do you differentiate yourself?
So I'll tell you what. Great question. You know what? They've been doing that for years. They're doing even today. They'll also do tomorrow. Now, what change that AI is doing, or say it's a particular brand and they have this huge team, how this AI can influence them, right? So traditionally, again, it's the time that is required to create a collection and how fast the customer is moving for them, right? It's moving at a lightning speed. And designers are anyway been struggling before. And this AI tool is going to make their life a lot more easier. For the buyers to even buy into the collection of what the designers are creating, going to get much more simpler and cleaner, right? So to the question of not just my company, all the AI companies who are actually proposing these kind of solutions to all these brands, first of all, it's very important to train the designers. It just takes probably 7 days, probably 1 to 3 to 7 days if they want to learn. It will take that much time and then implement on their own. So it becomes like their assistant. And I'm telling you, that's the future. That's the future for these designers. The way we use Google Maps to get the direction of where we want to reach, this would be like their design assistant, where they're just Googling, checking, asking questions of what they want to create, and you're getting just an input. And it's your choice whether you want to take that input or change it, or see, either you follow the Google Maps blindly, or certain things that, hey, you know what, I know this route. I can take a certain way, or I can use 50% of what the AI is telling and rest, or the maps, or wherever the direction is. And after that, I'll take my own route. So it's going to be the same here. AI will give them like an assistant telling you a lot of inputs, or giving them a lot of inputs. It's on them how much they want to take it further, how much they want to use it for their design ideas. So this is what the design studios will start looking at. Right now, AI design studio looks a bit niche, the way I'm putting it, the way we are right now as Amram, but I'm telling you, it will be the future very soon. And how the traditional design studios will adapt to their AI tools. They'll buy from any company and they'll become an AI design studio, right? And the other way of becoming is maybe the software companies are bringing in designers and making it even more niche, and they're becoming a AI design studio instead of just a AI software company. So there are many ways things can unfold, but the point is AI has to be a part of their ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Kalyani, for joining us today. And with this, we wrap up our conversation. Stay tuned with us to learn more about the business of AI and how AI is reshaping business and work. Until then, bye. See you later.